This is your astrologer friend Irfan once more with you. So far we have done roughly about 4 videos on the recent Rahu and Ketu transit in Gemini and Sagittarius respectively. Today's video is for Leo ascendants, and for Leo ascendants, Rahu is transiting in your 11th house in Gemini, and Ketu has transited in your 5th house in Sagittarius. And what makes this transit very special, especially for Leo ascendants, is that while Rahu is moving into your 11th house of gains, it's an Parashar house, Ketu is moved into your 5th house in Sagittarius, while Saturn is already placed in Sagittarius in the 5th house. So because both the houses are of gains, 5th as well as 11th house, so this is a special transit for Leo ascendants. So without wasting much time and without making much ado about something without understanding it, let's just jump into the Rahu and Ketu transit for Leo ascendants. So for Leo ascendants, with Rahu moving into the 11th house of gains, also called the Upachaya house, and with Ketu moving into the 5th house in Sagittarius, which is also the house of gains, this Rahu-Ketu axis for the respective transits is very important for Leo ascendants because both the houses of gains are involved. Now, what is Rahu sitting in the 11th house of gains, which is also a Upachaya house, which means it gives results over a period of time? What does it entail for Leo ascendants? Now, when Rahu sits in the 11th house in Gemini, it gives the results, or increases the results, or enhances the results, or the hunger for results of the respective house that it sits in and the sign. Sitting in Gemini in the 11th house, Rahu's hunger or greed for results of the 11th house increase. Now, what is the 11th house? The 11th house is the house of aspirations, of general society, of your network, of your elder siblings, of your hopes and wishes, of gains from your career, and it's also the house of working in a large organization. So Rahu, when it transits into this house, it increases the hunger or the greed or the expectation or the aspiration to get more gains out of this house. So a Leo native in this case, with Rahu transiting into the 11th house, looks at getting more out of his network, more out of his career, more out of his work, more out of his business, because the 11th house also constitutes business. And for that, because it sits in Gemini, the native communicates more, reaches out to people, talks to his network, talks to his social circle, reaches out to his elder sibling, maybe even complains, saying that, I don't get enough from you folks, or from the elder sibling, saying that you are my elder brother or my sister, but you haven't done well, or you haven't done much for me, and I haven't done well, but you have not stood by me, and so on and so forth. He may complain to his superiors or supervisors, saying, I didn't get that promotion, I didn't get that increment. So there is going to be a focus on aspiration, the focus on gains, and your hopes and wishes are going to be in focus for this native if you are a Leo ascendant. Then Leo ascendants with such a transit also look at, if they are in business, how do I increase my business? And for that they are ready to reach out, talk to their social network, talk to those people that they know, talk to the elder sibling, and involve them in the business, or extract more out of business, or tell them, buy my products, give me more business for my services, and so forth. Now, what does Rahu's aspects in this particular placement mean? Rahu aspects the 3rd house, which is also the house of effort. Automatically, the effort that Leo ascendants will put in is going to be higher during the transit, and the focus is going to be more on, because the 11th house and the 3rd house both constitutes effort and gains. So such a native may put in more effort either for his career or for his to achieve his aspirations or to get more out of his business. and maybe even reach out to his younger siblings or put more effort on his younger siblings, and be concerned and be more concerned about his or her younger siblings. And because the third house is also the karma house, or the house of sexuality and virility, so the sexual tendencies or the need to be more intimate may also increase, because both the 11th house and the third house are karma houses. And if somebody has been working or in a career but wants to do his business, this is the right time to make the move, because the third house is the house of making self-effort and doing and gaining, and because the 11th house is of aspiration. So this is also a transit of your aspirations coming through or gaining fruit or bearing fruit because of your own efforts. So all those people who have been thinking of making a career move, this is the right time if your overall planetary placements are also good and you have a good dasha backing you. So you need to be careful before you make the switch. Since the third house is also the house of performing arts, performing with your hands skills, so some Leo natives may also want to practice and take more interest in their hobbies, in performances, in dance, in communication, in using their hands to do various things that they need to do, or developing a hobby of sculpting, painting, and so on and so forth. And because it is the sign of Libra, so they may also involve their near and dear and family. Now, the other aspect of Rahu is in the 7th house, in Aquarius. Now, the 7th house is also, apart from being the house of the spouse or marital relationship, is also the house of daily wages, also business partnerships. So the focus, all the three houses here are a very good transitory placement for business partnerships, to get more gains out of daily life, and to get more out of your business. So because the 11th house, the third house of effort, and the 7th house of daily wages and business partnerships are all coming together with Rahu's transit into the 11th house. Such a native may want to spend more time with spouse, may focus more on spouse, but also want more from spouse, expecting the spouse to take more care of him or her, or pamper him or her, or give more time to him or her, and may also be re-looking at the relationships, whether they have got enough from the relationship or not. They will re-look at whether the married life so far has given them the happiness that they were looking for. And this is also not just mental happiness or mental peace, but also in terms of monetary benefit. Have they been able to benefit? Has the spouse been supportive enough? Has the spouse stood by him or her when they had to put in more hours of work? Have they been sympathetic to them whenever they needed any support or help? Even finances, has the spouse been ready to share finances with him or her? And so on. Such a native may also look at their business partnerships and look at whether they have gained enough from the business partnership, and also maybe reach out to their business partners to get more or focus more on business, or to expand and grow business, because the 7th house in the sign of Aquarius is also the house of large organizations. So Leo natives, specifically because they are also people who want to lead the way and who are born leaders, may also take the lead in pushing the business forward, pushing the partnership forward, pushing the relationship forward. They may also want to include more people in the business, because the 7th house, the 11th house are sharing energies. Now, what does Ketu mean? Now, Ketu's placement in a particular house and sign means that all the results of the particular house and the sign are completely absorbed by Ketu. Ketu does not allow the results or the effects of the house to come about. Ketu absorbs both the good and the bad of the house. So sitting in the 5th house, Ketu absorbs all the goods or the gains of the 5th house, because we know the 5th house is the house of gains. And because the 5th house is also the house of speculative gains, so it is also very important that the Leo native thinks twice before investing into anything which is speculative, or which is where there is a chance of a profit or a loss, because Ketu will not allow gains to come in easily. And because the 5th house is also the house of performing in front of audiences, large audiences, exhibiting your skills, exhibiting your wares, and marketing your arts. So such people may also, if you are somebody who performs in front of audiences, is a performer, is an artist, then you will either find that you're not getting good breaks, or you find yourself lethargic, you are not taking enough interest in those performances, and you may also find that you're not able to give enough time to your children, because the 5th house is also the house of children, because it is Sagittarius sign. So you may also find that Sagittarius and 5th house coming together, finances may be affected, finances may be locked up, finances may not give you adequate gains. So this is an important transit for Leo ascendants, with Ketu moving into the 5th house in Sagittarius. Now what does Ketu's aspect mean? From the 5th house, Ketu aspects the 9th house. Here both the very important 5th and 9th houses, or the trine houses, are coming into play, with Ketu sitting in one and aspecting another. Which means not only does Ketu absorb the gains out of the 5th house, but Ketu aspecting the 9th house also absorbs the gains from the 9th house, or controls it, or doesn't allow it to bear the fruits that it normally can and should. Specifically because the 9th house here is the house where sign of Aries is placed, where the Lagna Lord of Leo, the Sun, gets exalted in. So this is an important sign or important aspect of Ketu in the 9th house in Aries for Leo ascendants. So aspecting the 9th house and absorbing all the results of the 9th house, foreign travel, long distance travel may not give you enough gains, may not bear fruits. So you may travel, but from the travel you may not be able to achieve the goal or the target that you have gone out to achieve. You may also find that you may have some distance with father, or misunderstanding with father, or may not be able to give enough time to father. If you're studying, you may not be able to get along with your gurus, your teachers. If you're learning anything, definitely there's going to be some distance between you and your gurus. For those people who are planning to travel, the travel plans may be put off. Those people who are very spiritual, who are very religious, may also find that they are able to give less time to religiosity, to religion, to spirituality, to be able to visit spiritual places, temples, or travel to spiritual places, because their focus is going to be, because of Rahu, on gains, effort in business, partnerships, and so forth. The other aspect of Ketu is in the Lagna itself, in the 1st house in the ascendant, on the sign Leo. Now, aspecting the Lagna, here the native is less focused on self, takes less interest on self, and takes more effort on, or takes more interest in other matters, specifically where Rahu is sitting and where Rahu is aspecting. And because it being less focused on self, one will see that Leo ascendants will not be taking care of their health, will not be taking care of their medications if they are not feeling well, their diet may get affected. Overall, the focus will be less on self, less on even self-pride. Though Leo people are known for the respect and pride that they stand for, the focus will be less on self, less on personality and how people will see me, and people should respect me, but the focus will be more on gains. And because Rahu is involved, such a native may not hesitate to do something which is also not completely ethical, irrespective of how the personality may be affected, to get gains. So, with this placement of Ketu, this is a really important transit, bringing in different effects. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn sitting in the 5th house limits the results of the 5th house, which means that while Ketu is absorbing completely the results of the 5th house, Saturn limits it, or says that unless you work hard, and you work hard in a very organized manner, you work hard with diligence, you persevere even when the times are not good, when the times are challenging, only then with a lot of effort will I give you the results of the house that I sit in, or that particular placement. So For Leo natives, it's going to be really frustrating because Ketu is sitting in the 5th house with Saturn, and Ketu is completely absorbing the results, while Saturn is saying, even with very hard work, only then I'll give you. So it's going to be a little frustrating time. However, Saturn also protects the investments of the Leo native sitting in the 5th house. So any speculative investments which you have already done, you may not lose that amount. However, new gains or getting new gains out of new investments may take time or may not be a good time to invest. Now, what is Saturn's aspect? From the 5th house, Saturn aspects the 7th house, which means that, which is its own house. So, because Saturn's placement in a house is good, but its aspect is not so good. So, Saturn aspecting the 7th house of spouse, of marital life, of business partnerships, of daily wages may bring challenges there, because Saturn will slow or limit the gains or the results from that particular house and sign. So whilst Rahu is aspecting the 7th house and wanting to involve or get more business partners in, spend time with spouse, involve the spouse, expect more of spouse, Ketu is going to be a completely limiting factor, and the native will have to work really very hard to get results out of this house because of Saturn's aspect. So Leo natives will have to be careful. While Saturn will protect them, but Rahu will also cause them frustration because of the differentiating or opposite energies. The other aspect of Saturn is on Rahu itself in the 11th house. So Saturn will limit the gains out of the 11th house, and the native, in spite of all this effort, unless he puts in long hours of work, perseveres, does it in a structured and organized manner, does it in a planned manner, will not get the results of the 11th house. So for Leo ascendants, natives, this is going to be a sign of lot of hard work, lot of perseverance, working a long hours over a long period before the gains will come through. And the 10th aspect of Saturn is on the 2nd house. 2nd house of income, 2nd house of language, of food, of dependence, and so on. So Saturn aspecting the 2nd house means that your income that comes into the house may get affected. Now, because the 2nd house is the sign of Virgo, which also constitutes service, which also constitutes finances, which also constitutes health in Kalpurush horoscope. So which means that you will probably focus less on food, your income may get stagnated, or your income coming to the house may slow down, your language will be a little coarse, you may not communicate immediately or effectively, because the 2nd house is also the house of language. You may be slow, though structured, but slow in responding to mails, or you may take your own time, you may think through before you send, which is not a bad thing. However, you need to take care of what you eat, because of Saturn's aspect on the 2nd house is aspecting the house of food as well. You may also want to look at how you're treating your dependent, because the 2nd house is also the house of your dependence, of home, and how you treat others at home. Because if in your natal chart the placement of planets is not in good houses and not in positive signs, then this particular Saturn aspect on the 2nd house of home, because home is very important, it may give different results. Now that you have understood what Rahu and Ketu transits in the 11th house and the 5th house for Leo ascendants entails and what results are forthcoming, it's very important for you to get your planetary placements understood, get your horoscope reading done, so that you understand what your placements mean, specific placements mean for you if you're a Leo ascendant. Because based on your different planetary placements, where your Rahu is, where your Ketu is in your natal chart, these transits will play or will give you results accordingly. So please reach out to my email ID in my link, and till we meet some other time. Ciao.